Right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Vivian Lee, and I am a Bronx community organizer with Plant Power Metro New York. Plant Power Metro New York empowers people to find better health and overcome chronic disease through whole food, plant-based nutrition. We offer evidence-based education, resources, and support to create community and inspire change throughout the New York metropolitan area. I'm so excited to present tonight's program, which features a Thai Chinese cooking demo that is being presented from across the world in Thailand. We have quite a time difference here. It's we're at 8:30 here, but it's 7:30 in Tida's location. So I will introduce Tida. Tida Wei is a professional plant-based chef consultant in Bangkok, Thailand. From recipe creation to branding, food styling, and photography, Tida assists eateries old and new around Bangkok with all aspects of their business so that they can share the most creative and vibrant plant-based creations with everyone. A little bit of history. Tida started cooking Italian food at age 15, not Thai or Chinese, and then moved on to classic American dishes that she loved. She had spent time living in the US for nearly 5 years, and she decided to come back to her origins, having lived in Southeast Asia for nearly her entire life. And so she connects to her roots and now shares delicious Thai and Chinese recipes that she grew up loving. So the floor is yours, Tida. What are we cooking tonight?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm at 1 second. Okay, is it better now? Oh, I'm still echoing. I'll talk on my laptop instead. Am I still echoing?
Oh, that's great. Yes.
That's better? Okay.
Yep, that's much better.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So this morning or your evening, we are cooking 2 dishes. One is called mapo tofu. It's a almost no oil recipe. There's only just a little, like a couple drops of sesame oil at the end. And we are also cooking a nam tok. Nam tok is like a Thai spicy salad, usually with some kind of protein. And the signature sauce of nam tok is actually the jiao, which has toasted sticky rice on it. So I feel like these 2 recipes are super versatile. Both recipes you can eat it with rice, you can eat it on wrap, or you can eat it on bread. So that's why I chose these 2 recipes. And also because I'm Taiwanese, but I was born and raised in Thailand. So I'm like split between Thai and Chinese food. So I asked Vivian if I could cook both cuisines tonight or this morning. So that's what I'm doing. So we're gonna start with mapo tofu. So in the recipe, we are going to toast Sichuan peppers first. So it is also called Chinese prickly ash. It's a very Sichuan Chinese ingredient where it's not like normal pepper. It smells very fragrant, and it's usually in mala dishes. And mala dishes, mala in Chinese means so spicy that your tongue is numb. But luckily, this is not too spicy. It's more numbing. It gives a more numbing kind of feeling. So we're gonna toast this first because since we're not using oil, we want the fragrance of the pepper, the Sichuan pepper, to come out with heat. And in the recipe, I used dried chili. Where's my dried chili? Here. And I said 2 or 3, but if you can't take heat, you don't have to use all the chilies. You can just use just 1. Okay, so we're gonna turn on the heat first. And we are going to use medium to low heat because we don't want to accidentally burn our spices.
And Tida, are you just cooking them dry here?
Yes, so we're just gonna toast the spices dry just to get the natural fragrance of it out first. Can you see? Yes, you can see. Okay. So we are going to do this for less than a minute, just until it smells nice and fragrant. And then we're gonna set it aside first. Usually this, like it's in Chinese is called mala, right? Mala is almost like a type of dish where you add the Sichuan pepper and just a bunch of warming spices because it's really cold in that region of China. And people eat a lot of mala in like veggie stir fries and in hot pots. So it's something that's it's almost like a stew, you know, for the Western part of the world, where you know you have a very hearty soup and you eat it and you feel so good, and it's like cold at night and you warm yourself up. Okay, I think that's like a minute now. We don't want to burn our spice. I'm gonna turn this off, and then I'm gonna set this aside because this is my only kitchen counter space. And we're gonna be chopping ginger and garlic here. All right, so for the next part of this recipe, we're going to be chop up garlic and ginger really fine. They didn't have whole ginger, so I got shredded ginger this time. I know I don't like the packaging either. It's so much plastic. Okay, so we're gonna get 3 tablespoons of ginger, and then we're gonna get 3 cloves of garlic. So that's kind of like 3 tablespoons of garlic. So I'm gonna wash this first. Okay, so what you want to do with the ginger is just finely mince it. Now that it's shredded for us, you can finely mince it. If you have, you know, those like lemon zest graters or like a really fine grater, you can use that. It'll save a lot of time. So like Vivian said, I didn't cook Asian cuisine until I actually came back to Thailand this time around, which was in late 2018. And the reason why I realized that I need to start cooking, you know, food that's closer to my heritage is because I went to the States and I was actually living and serving at a monastery, and my spiritual teacher was like, Tida, go cook me something Thai. And then I was like, I don't know how to cook anything Thai. I'm Asian, but I don't know how to cook anything Thai. I just cook Italian. So yeah, that was when I realized that I really took my food for granted when I was living in Thailand because it's so readily available everywhere. So I just never learned how to cook it. Okay, so for the garlic, we're going to mash it with our knife. So we're just gonna do that. It releases the juices and it will be easier for you to mince it. So we're going to mince it as finely as we can. See, now that it's what is it called? It's smashed. It's much easier to chop. Oops. So I have a secret. I just only recently learned how to make this dish because I love it so much that I always go to Chinese restaurants and order the vegan version of it. And I had a cooking, it was like a chef's table, like another cooking demo 2 weeks ago. And I basically just called on my mom and said, Mom, how do you make mapo tofu? And she just gave me the instructions on the phone, and then I made it. And then it came out just as I wanted it to be. So I'm very proud of myself for learning how to make this dish because I started learning Thai cooking a lot, but with Chinese cooking, I still need more practice. But yes, I love this dish and I hope that you love it too. Okay, now we got our minced garlic and ginger. I'm going to bring back our stove. I only have the space, so I have to move things back and forth. Okay. Because I only have one pan and one stove, we're gonna put the toasted peppers and dry chili on the side first. And then we are going to fry our garlic and ginger with some water.
I'm sorry, Tida, to interrupt. For those who are having trouble seeing Tida, she has two devices right now from her iPhone and her laptop, and you can choose, if you hover over the screen that shows her up close, over the three dots, you can pin that video and see more closely what she's doing. I hope that helps. Okay.
All right. I hope everyone can see. It's this screen right here. Okay, so we are going to turn up the heat to medium high. Ooh, that's really high. My kitchen is actually in the other corner and it's an electric stove. I had to bring this like portable gas stove with me because gas stove and Chinese cooking go together. But if you don't have a gas stove, that's okay too. Okay, so we're gonna add some water into the pan. And then we're going to add in our garlic and ginger. I'm gonna add a little bit more water. And as you can see in the recipe, either now or later, I didn't add any soy sauce or salt, and that is because the bean paste that I will be adding later is quite salty. It's like fermented bean. It's like miso. So I want you to determine by yourself how salty you want the dish to be. Because I think everybody eats a different level of saltiness. I eat quite salty. So I always get scolded by my mom. She's like, Tida, less salt, or like less soy sauce. So in this recipe, I'm going to put health as priority, and we're not gonna eat too much sodium. So when you make this dish, you can then determine for yourself how salty you want it to be after you taste it.
And for those who are very mindful of their salt intake, seasoning is also a great way to add flavor.
I just add a little bit more water because it was drying out very quickly. I haven't used a gas stove in a while. All right. So there is one ingredient that I did not actually include in the recipe because I just thought about it last night. And in the recipe, it requires Thai chilies, Thai red chili peppers, and it's very spicy. So you can add this if you love spice, but if you can't really handle spice like me, I have one star ingredient that I would love to share with you guys, and it's actually Korean chili peppers. I think it's called Gochugaru, right? I'm
Yes.
not sure, right? So it has color. It's super red. It's almost like um uh, it gets in between chili peppers and paprika because paprika isn't that hot and spicy, right? It has the smell, it has the color, but it doesn't have the heat. So I love to add this the Korean chili peppers into my food instead. So I'm just gonna add maybe just this much. This is like a teaspoon and a half into the dish. So it's gonna give that nice red color as well. So after it's much more cooked and translucent, I am going to add my bean paste. So I sent a link to Vivian, like the different types of bean paste. Hold on, let me show you. And I think you can even like search for it on Amazon, or go to like an Oriental or an Asian supermarket and look for a bean paste. This is like a Thai brand, but I think Vivian will send out a link or a website that shows all the different brands, like Chinese brands that you can find in the States. One second, I can't open my jar of bean paste.
Is this the bean paste that's used commonly in Sichuan cooking?
Yeah, so it's used a lot in Sichuan cooking and just mainly Chinese cooking, I think, because even when my mom makes like just simple noodles, she would add this bean. Oh, I opened it. She would add this bean paste to the noodles because it has like beans and a little bit of chili, a little bit of garlic. So I'm gonna add this to our pan.
In the recipe, I do hyperlink a, a suggested bean paste that can be purchased from Amazon. Does the bean paste sauce usually contain oil, Tida?
Pardon?
Does the bean paste usually contain oil traditionally?
Depends because this type of bean paste I got does not have oil. So I wanted to mention that if you can't find one without oil, then you can sub it with miso paste, like a more chunky miso paste, except that miso does have its own very specific flavor. Yeah, so if you really can't find a bean paste without oil, you can sub it with miso paste. Yeah, and then just cook it with our Sichuan peppers. I'm going to show you how to add the Sichuan peppers back into the recipe later. And hopefully the Sichuan peppers will overpower the miso enough that the miso gives that depth and the savoriness without giving too much of that, you know, miso soup kind of taste.
Will this be breakfast for you since it's almost 8 o'clock?
I actually have a taco party with my friends tonight, so it might be one of our taco fillings.
Oh. You won't go to waste.
So I added some water in. You don't actually have to add this much water. It just I felt like my pan was drying up so fast. All the ingredients were drying up so fast, so that's why I added a lot of water. Okay, so now we're going to add our slurry in. So you mix water with cornstarch and you make a slurry. And then you add that slurry to your mixture so that it thickens up so that it's not like soup. Because when you put the tofu in, you want the sauce to coat the tofu. So you want some stickiness to it. So I'm gonna add this in. Add half first. I'm gonna add all.
And that's just a cornstarch mixture?
Yeah, so that's the cornstarch and water mixture. So in the recipe, it says a cornstarch and water. So mix it together and then just add to your mixture. So we're going to let that boil so that it becomes a bit sticky. And then we're just gonna add our tofu. So I got this type of tofu. It's a more firm type of tofu. You can get silken as well. But if you're not familiar with handling tofu, silken tofu can be very soft. It's the softest type of tofu. So this is a more firm type of tofu. I'm gonna cut this up. So I'm just going to cut up the tofu right in the box like that into cubes. Then I'm just gonna put it in. When you get tofu, make sure to drain all the water first before you add your tofu in the mixture. All right, here goes the tofu. Woo! A little bit of a mess. Okay, when handling tofu in mapo tofu, you gotta be very careful not to break it up. So you see now the sauce is quite thick. I'll show you. So this is thick, it's not soupy like before. And we're just going to let it boil for a little bit so that the sauce coats the tofu. Oh, our star ingredient. We're gonna add back our Sichuan peppers. So you can add them whole, or I recommend that when you buy these Sichuan peppers to just eat like a one pepper berry first and see if you can handle the taste of it, because it's very strong. So if it's too strong and if every bite of tofu you get a piece of this pepper and you don't like it, then that's not good. So if you are okay with the taste though, you can put it in the spice grinder and then you can sprinkle it on top of your tofu. Otherwise you can add it whole. So I'm just gonna add everything in. I like it whole, but that's because I really like the taste, this numbing taste of the tofu.
When you cook it, does it soften?
No, it stays very crispy.
Oh.
Yeah, because if it's fresh peppers, then it will soften. But when it's dried peppers like this, it stays quite hard. I like the look of like whole peppers, but my mom always grinds it. So you can grind it in the spice grinder after you toast it and let it cool. So we're all actually done. It was super fast, right? I feel like this is such like an easy dish when you like have rice or like toast and you just want to dip something like nice and warm, you know. Dip your toast in something nice and warm. So you're done with this one.
Can you eat that as is, or do you sometimes mix rice with it?
Yeah, I put it on rice. You can eat it with toast, you can put it in taco, but usually we eat it on rice. So I'm gonna put this.
Mapo tofu sounds amazing. I've never heard of that combination.
Yeah, it's like I came up with all these combinations because I was working as a chef consultant, plant-based chef consultant for a cafe. And at first they just wanted drinks. And then suddenly they're like, oh no, we want food as well. But it's almost like a Starbucks counter where you don't have a kitchen. You just have like a small oven, an air fryer, and a small stove. So I came up with all these like open face sandwiches, and I came up with all these like Asian, Indian, all kinds of like toppings for the sandwiches. And I realized, wow, a lot of things taste good with toast.
Tida, we have a question here. Does a peppercorn numb like a clove?
Yeah, it does. It numbs like a clove, except there's more of a element of spiciness to it. Okay, I am going to dish this out. Wow.
Oh, that looks gorgeous.
Can you see
it? I can see the not the smoke, just the
steam.
hot, the steam.
All right. So we are just going to finish this off with, so this is the sesame oil I was talking about. It's just a couple of drops of sesame oil just on top. So in the recipe, it says a quarter of a teaspoon. That's all you need. That is all you need. Just a couple of drops around it. A little goes a long way with toasted sesame oil. If you really don't want to use sesame oil, you can just add sesame instead. So you can toast your own sesame, just the way you toasted the spices. Or get toasted sesame from the supermarket, from the Asian supermarket, and just sprinkle it on top. Can you see the dish?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Would you mind holding it and maybe bringing it a little bit closer to the camera after you finish garnishing it?
Yes, so you can use toasted sesame instead. I use both because I love sesame. And then
sesame oil is quite prominent in, I can speak to Korean cooking as well. So it is a common ingredient, but again, it's very minimal here. So you can choose to omit it if you like.
Yes, you can choose to omit it. And we're just going to garnish it with some scallions for some color. And also we don't really cook scallions in Chinese cuisine. We don't really, sometimes we do, we don't really add it to like a hot food because I just feel it tastes better when it's raw and it's a garnish. Okay.
Oh, Tida, that was gorgeous.
Isn't that super quick and easy?
That was delicious. I wish we could all take a bite. Your kitchen must smell so aromatic.
It smells so good right now.
We have a lot of compliments coming in for you, Tida.
I feel so awkward because I don't know which like screen to look at. I have two screens. I have my laptop and my phone.
Oh, it looks great. Yeah, thank you for that.
Right now, and because it's super hot right now, we're gonna make the next dish, and then we'll just taste everything together later. Okay?
I think we can all appreciate that, even though we won't be tasting it directly.
Okay, so I am going to put this aside first, and I'm so sorry. I need to wash my pan because at this condo I just have one pan. I'm like living super minimally, so I'm gonna wash the pan real quick.
While you're doing that, has anyone tried mapo tofu before? Is this anyone's first time seeing the dish? You can feel free to add in the chat box or unmute yourself. I know that in my household, and I'm of Korean heritage, we also have, we pronounce it mapo tubu, but it's a variation. It's, I would love to try your version, Tida, because the one that I grew up eating doesn't have Sichuan peppercorn. So
I would love you to try it too.
and then the next dish that you'll be preparing for us, could you describe a little bit more? Or sorry, if you're still washing up.
Like this dish, it's very versatile as well. We eat it with rice. Usually you can eat it with sticky rice. And it's one of the dishes that I created for the cafe where you can eat with toast. And I'll show you how to eat it with toast in once I make it. Okay, so I chose portobello mushroom because I feel like it's something that's super widely available in the States. But I went to all the supermarkets here and I couldn't find any portobello mushroom. I just found this enoki mushroom. So this enoki mushroom. But when you make it, you can make it with any kind of mushroom. So I'm so sorry that I couldn't get portobello mushrooms for you guys. But I think grilling mushroom is pretty much the same. So you grill it until it's cooked, and then I'll show you. The star of the dish is actually the sauce. So I'm gonna get this much mushrooms. I'm gonna wash it first. I started cooking when I was 15 or 14. And every cooking show, they would say, don't wash your mushrooms, you know, because like it soaks up the water. But I disagree because you don't know who's handled that mushroom. You don't want germs on your mushroom. So I always wash it just like quickly, just, you know, the surface of it. And then if it absorbs any water, I just squeeze it off. But I would always wash my mushrooms. So if you can't find portobello mushroom, you can use shiitake mushroom, or you can use this. I don't know what this is called in English. I think it's on the package. It says golden needle mushroom. So it's used a lot in Japanese cuisine. I know that. I'm not sure if you guys use this in Korean cuisine. So.
Do you mind spreading it out in case there's some of us not familiar with that? Because it is very stringy, isn't it?
Yes, so what you have to do is cut off the root of it. That's where it's growing from. So you're just gonna cut that off. And then you're gonna spread it out like that. And you grill it. You can keep the root of it intact. Hold on. I'm just gonna spread it out in more of like a thin strips so that it cooks through faster. Like this. I'm just gonna place it in my pan. I'm gonna show you how to make the sauce, so I'm gonna go cook my mushrooms there. So I'm just gonna place it in the pan like that. And then once one side is cooked, I'm gonna flip it. This is how I'm doing it.
And what's the name of this dish?
It's called nam tok. Nam tok. Namtok. Nam tok. So last time I showed you guys a dish called lab. So if you're familiar with the Thai dish lab or larb, L-A-R-B, larb, right? Larb is usually made with a minced meat, and it's like a very similar sauce with toasted sticky rice. And nam tok is a version of it that uses strips of meat. So in here, we're not gonna use meat, obviously, we're gonna use mushrooms. And I chose mushrooms because it has a very similar like meaty consistency. So we want it to be more chewy. Okay, so I'm just gonna add that just this much onto the pan since I have a very small pan. So if you're working with portobello mushrooms or shiitake mushrooms, you rinse it super fast to make sure it's not dirty anymore. And then you take off the stem of it, and then you just grill both sides of it. So I'm just gonna put this on the pan with medium heat. And mushrooms take a while to cook, so I think I can leave it there for a while first, and then I'll show you how to make the sauce. Okay, so let me wash my vegetables. So the star of this dish, I'm not sure which camera you're looking at. This one, right? Is it my laptop camera?
Yes.
Okay, so the star of this dish, there are two types of herbs. One is the spring onions or scallions, right? It's the same thing. Spring onions and culantro. In Thai, we call this Laotian coriander. And I could actually not find culantro in the supermarket because there's another name for it. It's called fitweed. I'm not sure what you guys call it in the States. I remember seeing culantro, like cilantro, but with a U, culantro in the supermarket. So these are just the two star herbs of the dish. And we are going to just chop off the root of it. Can you see?
Yes.
I'm gonna go check on the mushrooms real quick. So to grill it super fast, especially when you're not using oil, you press it down onto the pan so that it grills and like the moisture, you get the moisture out. It's actually cooking pretty fast. It's already browning a little bit. So I'm just gonna put this back on low medium heat now. Okay, so we're just gonna chop these up. Fine. And we're using about 3 tablespoons of each. And the recipe, the sauce for this recipe, I did give you quite, it's enough for maybe 2 or 3 times use, because once you make the sauce, you can keep it in the fridge and you can use it with anything. So for this dish, I'm just gonna use this much first. I'm gonna save this for later. And then we're gonna chop up 1 Thai chili. We're gonna fine chop this too.
And I believe Thai chili can be found in Whole Foods, at least the one in Union Square location does. So if you don't have access to a local Asian grocery store, that is an option.
And if you really can't find Thai chili, you can use dried chili as well. Let me see if I can find dried chili in my kitchen. Oh no, I don't have dried chili. But it looks like dried Thai chili is a bigger flake. And it's not as red as the Korean chili. You see, oh, it's so dark. Yeah, but you can get dried chili, just not chili powder, dried chili. So you can still, what to look for is when you buy dried chili is that you can still see the seeds of it. So chili powder, you can't see the seeds anymore because it's in the fat powder form. But dried Thai chili, you can still see the seeds. So I think, wow, it's brown. Okay, I'm gonna flip these over. They look so good already.
Tida, we have a question here. Could cilantro be substituted for culantro?
Yeah, if you really can't find culantro, just sub it with cilantro. Very smart question. It tastes similar. It tastes different, but it tastes similar. You can sub it with cilantro if you really can't find culantro. Okay, so, oh, it shrunk so much. So I didn't add any salt or soy sauce onto my grilled mushrooms because I want the sauce to be the star. So okay, I'm gonna put this back onto the heat. And we are moving on to making the sauce. So this recipe calls for toasted sticky rice. In Thailand, you can get it in bags like this. I'm not sure if you can get it in bags like this in the States as well. But if you cannot find it, grab any rice. It doesn't have to be sticky rice in your kitchen. Wash it, dry it, and toast it like your spice, just as I did with the mala spices, the Sichuan peppers. Toast it until it's golden brown. Leave it to cool, and then put it in the spice grinder. And as you can tell, it's not like, can you see? Hold on, I'll put it in the bowl.
Maybe you can, yeah, in the bowl or maybe a little bit on your palm.
Okay, so you can still see like grains of it. So that it looks like rough sand. It doesn't look like, you know, very fine sand. It looks like rough sand. So you want that. So when you grind, if you're grinding it yourself, make sure that you still see like some grains of it, because we like the crunch. We want the crunch. So I'm gonna add the toasted rice into my bowl.
When you say sticky rice, is that also the short grain rice?
Japanese sticky rice is short grain, but Thai sticky rice is not. So you can use either. Yeah. So we're just gonna put every the herbs, the chili into one bowl. I'm avoiding touching the chilies because they always burn my hands. All right. Next, we are going to add our soy sauce. So this, I'm using light soy sauce because if you can't find light soy sauce in the supermarket, you can just use a normal soy sauce or tamari if you're gluten-free. And I'm using light soy sauce because it has less of that deep and the normal soy sauce has a more fermented soybean taste, and this one is has a lighter taste. I have to cut off the top. Hold on. Okay, got the bottle open. So I'm just gonna add 1/4 cup of soy sauce into my bowl. I know that sounds like a lot, but you can keep it for later. So that's 1/4 cup. And then we are going to add, I'm going to use coconut nectar sugar. If you can't find coconut nectar sugar, you can sub it with normal raw sugar or maple syrup. I even have like the liquid version of the coconut nectar sugar. But yes, you can sub it with any type of sweetener that you prefer. I'm gonna add in sugar. So you want this sauce to be predominantly salty with a soft sweetness, and we're gonna add half a lime to it. Usually, I prefer to get my vegetables at the wet market because you can bring your own like bags, so reusable bags, so you don't have to buy so much plastic. But because of COVID, all the wet markets are closed, so I got to buy my stuff from the supermarket instead. Okay, so I'm gonna add about this much lime. So you want it to be tangy and citrusy, but not too much. So that was like 1/3 of a lime, or like 1/4 of a lime. So we're gonna mix this. I'm gonna taste it. So you want it to look like that. You see a lot of toasted rice, you see the chili, you see the greens. Oh my God, I better check on my mushrooms. Oh, it's shot so much. I should have added more to the pan. But this is what you want it to look like golden brown. I'm gonna set this aside first. So I want to taste.
You could have used the whole enoki mushroom with
Yeah, I could have used the whole thing because it's shot so much. So you could use the whole mushroom. Okay, so I want to taste the sauce first. I feel like the sauce is called jiao, and I feel like it's one of like the best sauces in the world. I feel like it's one of those sauces where like every grandma has a different recipe or a different way they make it. Like some grandmas like it more salty or like more sour or sweeter. I like mine quite balanced, so I'm gonna taste it first. I'll put it on my. Ooh, that's super salty. I'm gonna add more sugar. And when it's too salty, you can add water as well. So I'm gonna add a little bit of water. And once you know how to make the sauce, you can eat it with pretty much anything you want. You can put it on tofu, you can put it on mushrooms, or you can put it on grilled vegetables, you can grill eggplants, you can put it on eggplants as well. Oops. Add more sugar. I think I'm gonna add more sugar. I like mine like salty and with a little bit of sweetness and not too sour. Oh, by the way, this coconut nectar, excuse me, coconut nectar sugar is like not half as sweet as normal sugar. That's why I'm adding, it looks like I'm adding a lot, but it's like very, very light. Oops.
Would something for that date sugar be a good substitute as well?
Yeah, use date sugar. Use any type of sugar. You can even use maple syrup. But if you use maple syrup, you can't use too much of it because maple syrup has a very sweet flavor or sweet scent to it. But use like a neutral sweetener. Okay, I'm gonna taste it again. Okay, I think it's perfect. So I'm going to serve mushrooms. I'm so sad. There's not much mushroom left.
The portobello mushroom would be perfect for this, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be perfect for it because it would be like a steak. And usually that's what people make it with, like strips of steak. Actually, I'm gonna put this aside and I'm gonna chop up the mushroom first. Yes, I went to like so many supermarkets looking for like portobello mushroom and I couldn't find it. So with this, I'm just gonna cut it into bite-sized pieces just for this mushroom because it's more chewy and you don't want like it to be too chewy. You know, you don't want to like trying to tear it away from your mouth, you know. I'm gonna put this on the plate. There's so little left. It's like those fine dining experiences where they only give you like 2 mouthfuls of food. I'm so sorry.
That's like fine dining portion.
Fine dining. Oh my God, look at how
it's quality.
All right, so we're gonna take maybe just a spoonful of it and we're gonna put a lot of herbs, like try to get a lot of herbs and a lot of like sticky rice on your spoon, and we're just gonna put it on top. And when we make it, when I made it in the kitchen, where I was creating recipes for, I taught them how to make vegan mayo. And then I know vegan mayo is quite high in fat, but if you want to try like a you know, your own recipe that's like, you know, fat-free or oil-free, you can mix this sauce, this jiao sauce with mayo, put it on toast and put this on your toast and put this mushroom on your toast. Oh my God, it's so good. It's like a, I don't even know how to explain it, but we have our mushroom. I'm so sorry. I should have grilled more. It looks so like fine dining. 2 bites, just 2 bites of it.
It still looks exquisite. As soon as you slice the lime, I actually could almost taste the citrus in it.
Really?
So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually all for today. I feel like we did that in a very short period of time. I tried to look for like really easy to make recipes that I
This
can
was
show you.
perfect, actually, Tita, because you filled up the pretty much the whole hour. But we do have a few minutes left, so if anyone would like to ask some questions right now, please feel free to do so. We have someone who appreciates that you used a type of mushroom that she hasn't used before. So there's good out of it, Tita. Everyone's saying thank you. It does look beautiful.
Thank you. This is very nice. I appreciate this.
Oh yeah, I'm so happy.
And I've never cooked tofu before, but I definitely will try to cook it.
Yes,
Oh,
wasn't it
wonderful.
easy as well?
Wonderful. All right. So if there
Quick
are no
question: would you eat these two dishes together?
No, I
Okay.
usually don't. I mean, like on our dining table at home, because like we're a Taiwanese family and we live in Thailand, we have like Thai and Chinese food together and we're used to that. But if I go to a restaurant, I would never order it together because one is so Chinese and one is so Thai. But if you like that diversity, then of course you can definitely eat it together.
Okay, thank you very much. They both look yummy, and I will definitely try it.
Yay, I'm so glad.
All right, then I don't see any questions coming in. So with that, thank you so much, Tita, for that demonstration and all the hard work that you put in preparing at such an early time in your time zone. So I'd like to remind you that we have an ongoing web series, and actually we have opened a few in-person events as well, including this Sunday's Farmers Market Tour that will be at the 77th and 79th Street Green Market at 9 a.m. To 10. That is limited to 8 participants, so you can go ahead and try to register for it. I'm sure you'll get an email if it's reached full capacity, but we do have more farmers markets lined up, so please stay posted for that. And then on Monday, we have our monthly nutrition support circle led by our community support facilitator and organizer and psychologist on board. And we also have our monthly book clubs. And this coming Tuesday, there is one in the evening as well. If we have ongoing events, so feel free to check our website for that. I'm going to post our link in the chat box. If you haven't done so already, please join our mailing list. We send out weekly emails with all upcoming events. Join us on social media, which includes Facebook, Instagram, Meetup, and YouTube, where you will be able to catch the replay of Tita's demonstration. And if you feel inspired by our work at Plant Powered Metro New York, we welcome donations through our website in recognition that the majority of our events are offered free of charge. So please visit our website and click on donate. We appreciate that. Thank you. And finally, if you'd like to reach out to me personally or to our team, you can email me at, which I will link here or put here in the chat box. And feel free to write to me if you have any ideas on how to bring this message to your community. I welcome it. So thank you so much for spending your evening with us, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday evening.